I'm not afraid. It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
Greetings and salutations, guys. Eric here with my review of Wicked, a movie that Universal is damn sure making absolutely certain you are hearing about. This has got to be, I think it probably just is. I was going to say one of the, but I think it is the most heavily promoted movie of the year. You really can't escape the promos for this movie. It makes sense. I mean, it would be a big deal anyway, but the fact that they have split this into two movies with the second one opening a year from now, they kind of need this one to be a hit since they're already invested so much in it. So yeah, they're going big on those promos, but how is the actual movie? I think it's pretty good. In this prequel to The Wizard of Oz, Cynthia Erivo plays Elphaba, who we know is destined to become the Wicked Witch of the West. But at this time, she's just a young woman with green skin, which makes her an outcast, even in a place like Oz, where there's a lot of odd things going on. However, when she takes her sister to Shiz University, that is a very silly name for university, she meets Madame Morrible, played by Michelle Yeoh, who notes how amazing her magical ability is and takes her under her wing and makes her a student there. But she has also made the roommate of Galinda, played by Ariana Grande, and the two instantly have a major dislike of each other. However, as time goes on, they begin to form a friendship, but as anyone who has read or seen The Wizard of Oz knows, these two are going to go down very different paths eventually. So here's where I give my quick personal history with Wicked, which is just to say I have seen the stage version, the Broadway musical. Well, I didn't see it on Broadway, but I saw the touring version of the musical, but maybe a dozen years ago or so. All I remember is I liked it and that we all applauded a lot at Defying Gravity. But that being said, it's not like I had some huge history with the show or a huge memory of it. I went into this movie pretty much just ready for anything and hoping I liked it, and I did. You know, the trailers had me wary because visually I didn't love what I was seeing as far as just the style that they were going for, and it looked pretty somewhat garish, and I don't know, even though I know they did a lot of real sets for this movie that are pretty impressive. You look at the behind the scenes footage, what they did as far as CG enhancement and the way they made the colors look, I don't think is all that impressive. It's hard with anything dealing with Oz because everything's going to be in the shadow of the 1939 movie and how visually dynamic that movie is and the technicolor of it all and what it established as far as what Oz will look like on screen. So every movie we've seen since is kind of trying to replicate that without exactly copying it. And I think this one does just an okay job. By and large, it feels fairly mundane visually as far as, a on-screen depiction of a fantastical world. But there are moments, I think, that really do stand out. There is this circular library I really love with these different stacks that are built into these circles that people are climbing around on. That was a cool touch. There is a train that takes you to the Emerald City that has kind of this steampunk visual to it. I thought that was a cool design. And we do meet the Wizard of Oz, of course, in this movie. He is played by Jeff Goldblum, and he has a scale model of the Emerald City that is just a pretty cool scale model. I would like that scale model. I'm a collector of stuff. I'd put that in my house if I could fit it. It's pretty big, too. Director John Chu has proven that he can work well in the musical realm. He did a couple of the Step Up movies, but more importantly, he did In the Heights. And with comedy, he has done Crazy Rich Asians. So I think the blend here of the comedic elements and the musical elements, he is certainly right at home, even if he's not an amazing visual director as far as creating a fantasy world on screen. But look, this movie was obviously going to live or die based around the performances of its two leads, and that's where Wicked really triumphs, because Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are both so good in this movie. Cynthia Erivo, she has an amazing background as far as, Tony Award-winning Broadway musicals. She is an amazing singer, she's an amazing performer, and she has the dramatic gravitas here, both as a performer, but also the role. I mean, Elphaba is the one that is dealing with a lot of hardships and feeling like, this isolated outcast for her whole life, and then she's starting to kind of see this glimmer of hope and of something bigger, and she has a lot of big moments in her singing and, kind of feeling that she's kind of coming into her own, obviously Defying Gravity being the huge example of that, and she nails it all. She has some amazing musical moments. hitting some fantastic notes, and she can sell the emotion here. She also has a lot of scenes where she needs to cry, and you believe it. You can relate to this character and connect to her. Ariana Grande is funny because I've been aware of Ariana Grande. I'm a person who lives in this world. I know she's been very famous for a long time, but I wasn't really that familiar with her as a performer because the songs I'd heard of hers were not for me. It just wasn't, my style of music. And, I didn't really know any of the acting she'd done when she was a kid. I knew her from Saturday Night Live, and I actually was really impressed with her there, where it seemed like, wow, she's got a lot of natural comedic ability, and that really shines in this movie. This is a really terrific comedic performance. What she's doing here, first of all, vocally, she's doing the classic Glinda the Good Witch voice, the high pitched voice that was kind of established in the 1939 movie. But also, this is this character that is, she's the pretty and popular girl, like the song says. She's narcissistic and vain, but she has to also be funny and likable. And she really nails it. She has these moments that are just very endearing, even though she's playing a snobby character. And everything about her and the affectations of this character, the hair flips, how she kind of is very calculated, but in a very amusing way. I really thought Grande just absolutely nails that. And I really just thought the two of them, it's such different energy they're bringing, but it does work together. And, you do like them together. Now, a lot has been made about the fact that not only are they splitting this stage show into two movies, but this is a 2 hour and 40-minute movie. So it's a lot longer than Act 1 of the stage show was. I do think it's a weird mix. The movie is well paced. I did not feel like, oh man, we're dragging here. This is slow. Come on, move. There is good energy throughout, and I never felt like it was really dragging. However, I do think structurally you do feel some of the problems of expanding it out, mainly because it takes quite a while for Elphaba and Galinda to become friends. The point of this is that eventually they have to split off from each other. I did joke about when Transformers 1 opened earlier this year, how this is a big year for these kind of stories. We were once so close, we were destined to become enemies, X-Men First Class approach to prequels. It just takes a while to get to the friendship part because their arc is we don't like each other at all, and then something changes and shifts, and now we're close and friends. By making it a longer story, it's a little frustrating that we don't get to the friendship quicker because that's what you want to see. But when it does happen, it's very sweet. It's very nice. They do a good job of showing that these both the filmmakers but also the actresses of showing that these two people that are so different, why they finally open up to each other, and setting up sort of the tragedy of where the story is going. Supporting cast is all good. I mentioned Jeff Goldblum comes in to do his Jeff Goldblum thing as the wizard, which I think is a very clever piece of casting. Michelle Yeoh cannot sing. She has one little part where she has to sing. She is such an amazingly talented woman. That is not one of the things she can do well, but she brings the right gravitas to this mentor character. But I think the real standout amongst the supporting cast is Jonathan Bailey as Figaro, who comes in a little bit into the story, has this handsome man who comes to the university. Yes, all these actors are well into their 30s playing university students, just go with it, who sweeps everyone off their feet. Every student. He is the new hunk on campus, and he is kind of matching Galinda in the sort of narcissistic, loving himself vibe he's exuding. And Bailey is really fun in this role and has, a big standout sequence. I mentioned the aforementioned library. Well, he is the centerpiece of that. It's his big musical number. And yeah, he is very enjoyable. I think Fiero's big number, Dancing Through Life, is one of the standouts amongst the musical numbers. But the ones that everyone's going to come out talking about are the ones they've always talked about, which is Popular and Defying Gravity. They've always been the ones to get all the attention, and there's a reason, and they continue to be excellent in this movie. Popular is just sort of this great lark of a song. It's a great spotlight moment for Galinda singing this song and showing kind of her character and her sweetness mixed with how full of herself she is. And then Defying Gravity just being the showstopper, being the amazing moment that on stage was a pretty cool technical effect, and here is obviously going to go pretty big with the special effects. And you've got Cynthia Erivo just, killing it in this role and in this song. And it's an amazing, wonderful moment on screen. Wicked is a little interesting tonally because it gets pretty dramatic and intense in the final act. And there's some long sequences without songs where things are getting pretty dangerous and dire. And then suddenly the characters start singing, and you almost have to take a moment to go, oh, yeah, this is a musical. And look, I know there are people who just will never be into musicals. That's fine, even though I wish they could open their heart to them. But I get it. And I feel like some of these sequences, though, if someone got dragged to this, there's some sequences where I think they might be like, okay, I'm getting into this. And then when they start singing again, they might go, oh yeah, they're singing. For me, who does love musicals, it sometimes still took a second just to kind of reset to remember, oh, that's what we're doing here. Oh, yeah. And I do think, again, because of the elongated screen time, that maybe some of those sequences go a bit longer than you might expect between the musical numbers. Overall, this is a solid movie that I think delivers what fans of the stage show will want to see. It innately is only half a story, so it can't be completely satisfying because it cuts to a to be continued card on screen. By the way, it is funny that all the marketing has just said Wicked. The movie says from the beginning Wicked Part 1, but you have to buy a ticket to know that if you haven't been paying attention. For people who might casually just be like, hey, they made a movie out of that stage show Wicked, I should go see that. They're going to get, I don't know, a twist that might be a little frustrating when they find out that this is only half the story. So yeah, this is not, I think sort of an amazing, sort of all-time great movie musical. In fact, I don't even think that it's John Chu's best movie musical. I liked In the Heights better. I was a big fan of that movie and I wish it had done better. But I think as far as taking a show that is very well liked. I should say loved. Plenty of people love Wicked, and I think I loved it when saw it. I said I think because it's been so long. Yeah, I think that this is really well done, and especially the two lead actresses, just great work by them. I'm excited to see the second part just to see where they can take their characters now that we're gonna go into more familiar terrain and it becomes sort of a side quill to some of the Wizard of Oz in the second half. That'll be interesting to see them do in this movie version. But as far as part one is concerned, yeah, it's a good movie that I think I think it's going to be a pretty big hit. It certainly seems like that's where we're going with this, and I think Universal won't have to freak out saying, "Oh God, we still have to open the second one," and no one cared about the first one. I think they're going to care, but we're going to find out pretty soon, won't we? All right, guys, those are my thoughts on Wicked, or as it's actually called, Wicked Part 1. If you could like and subscribe, that would be great. Take care.